And welcome back to episode 63 of the Madaxeman Podcast as we lurch into the third proper lockdown in the UK. The full gang of seven are yet again assembled for our normal mix of chat and nonsense, and of course Andy's quiz. This week, Adam talks about teaching his kids how to properly game. We talk about some tiny little ships. Tamsin gives us some good news. She'll be back painting soon. There's a long and slightly dubious discussion about flocking videos. Be careful how you listen to that, and be even more careful how you Google it. Tiny tanks. Tiny boats get discussed as well. We talk about buying yet more Landsnechts, and we also, of course, talk about painting horses. Sit back, enjoy the podcast.
This means war. This means war.
Well, hello, and welcome to our third. This is our third lockdown, isn't it? Am I right in that one?
Yes, it's a repeat.
It's a repeat of Lockdown 2 and Lockdown 1 and the third episode as well. So there's obviously some sort of synchronicity, and we're recording this on the 1st
but with new rubbish.
February. With new rubbish, or much the same. And we're recording this on the 1st of February. So we're into, this one can't be a leap year because it's 21.
Nope.
It's only even years, isn't it? So we're cracking along, and I'm looking across the top of the screen window, diving straight into our regular thing, and there looks like there's quite a lot of painting activity almost going on as we speak, which is quite remarkable. Andy, you just waved something sort of small and brown at me, which it might just be the angle that your camera's set at or something. But what is that thing? That's very disturbing, isn't it? Yeah. What is it that you're waving at in frightening close up into the camera there?
It's one of a large number of 10mm skeleton cavalry for the undead army.
So because I can occasionally remember things, and I'm remembering that it's remarkable that and sometimes put them into effect. And I'm remembering that was that Tamsin? Was that some of your advice on painting undead people with brown undercoat?
Yeah, indeed. I don't normally make a habit of listening to instructions from ladies and following them, but in Tamsin's case, it's well worth doing.
Right. Okay. So have you been? Did you manage to get out and do spray undercoat, or is it paint on undercoat?
No, it's paint on. Paint on. That's what I do. And
was there any off podcast discussion about what particular color of paint, light brown, dark brown, to use for skeletons?
Well, I think Tamsin said dark brown. I've just gone for the kind of darkest brown ones I've got in my paint collection and doing that.
And are you still at the undercoating stage, or have you actually seen this come to? Well, actually, probably a different question, maybe a more general question. Did you do a test one? I guess once we're talking about advice from Tamsin, you can pretty much trust it's going to work, really, can't you? But did you do a test one, or did you just go, sod it, I'm doing them all in one go with this brand new painting technique, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work? Because I'm looking at a load of figures that I've got here, and trying to reverse engineer what my thought process was on it. What did you do? Did you try it, or did you just go all in?
No. I've just thoughtlessly started undercoating.
Oh right, you just thoughtlessly. So literally, we caught you in the very act of starting to undercoat.
Yes.
You don't even know if this is going to work yet.
Indeed, I've no reason to think it won't. But
he's just living on the edge.
So you've been saving up your painting for the week until this very moment just to start this undercoating, or is there anything else that's got finished during the course of the last 7 days?
No, I've finished the Landsnechts army, so that was 5 commanders and their horses, and I kind of blinged them up a bit. Did a couple of flags, and a unit to 2 units of light cavalry arquebus, which arrived from Museum Miniatures on Saturday. I've managed to get them done yesterday. So
that sounds like a pretty quick turnaround in terms of the postage as well as the painting. Then when
well,
did
to
you
be fair, I ordered them the previous week. So I seem to be, you put the order in, it takes a week for them to say thank you very much, we're sending them out to you, and they arrived remarkably quickly given the state of the post.
That's excellent. That's really good, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. If we're having a separate section on what did you buy this week, I'll have something to say at that point.
Right, you might fess up something along the line.
While she's in a meeting.
With your commanders then for that huge Landsnechts army, did you take a lot more time on them? Is it or was it kind of just a better version of it? Because that's always a dilemma, isn't it, with commanders? how?
I think I did take a bit more time, particularly with the horses. I wanted to make them a bit kind of blingy, and as it happens, these guys are mainly clad in armor, so it was only their sort of skirts and trousers that were stripy and fancy. But
right, and have you gone? Of course, like I'm guessing now it's all the fashion. It's almost not even a question. Have you gone with round bases instead of square, or?
Yes, I didn't actually have any round bases, so I trimmed the corners off square ones to make them octagonal.
Okay, wow, that's a whole new. Well, I suppose they were sort of. It was the science of military, wasn't it? The Landsnechts. So that was maybe the more mathematical version is better.
Them, yeah. So they just are identifiably not rectangular bases, which is all you need.
Stand out a bit then. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, look, let's run along the top then again. Peter, I'm talking the top of your head here. I think your camera angle's slightly strange, but it just means we're just getting a lot more badger in the viewfinder, which is always good. Yeah, it's fantastic. So what have you been painting last week? Because it was kind of last week was a bit in between, wasn't it? I think you might have been doing real work a lot of the time or something.
Yeah, still yet more, way too much real work, unfortunately. Various fun things with work and people not doing what they're supposed to do, but they will do now or else. But in between doing some Napoleonics, been having a quick look because my youngest son was playing Europa 4 as Austria, and the Ottomans trying to attack them. So I got him listening to Sabaton's Winged Hussars, which Simon's very pleased about. So now I've actually got to try and find some 15mm Winged Hussars and buy them and paint them just because.
Just because. Well,
funny you should say that. Simon's got 15 different types of them.
Yeah. No, but I was just thinking, if you're looking for good Winged Hussar models, the Lego Heroica ones, the one guy who makes them in Italy.
Oh, he does some lovely stuff.
Yeah, they're one of the nicest ones on the market. I bought some of the Lancashire model ones.
Totentans?
Sorry?
I've Totentans, do they do?
Totentans did, but they've disappeared.
Yeah. What about Polish lot? I buy Fire and Sword.
Oh, yeah, Fire and Sword, but I've not been able to find any of them because I was looking to buy some of them for my Ottoman Turk army, but they seem to have disappeared a lot. Like your website's pretty out of date, and a lot like North Star, who's their UK importer, has got a lot of last of boxes type of thing. So I'm wondering if they're either redoing their molds or getting ready for new set of rules because you just can't find any stock for them. But they look quite nice. If not the
I suppose you could always gamble on ordering direct from Poland, couldn't you? Because I think I've seen on Facebook they're producing new stuff, but I'm never quite convinced with Fire and Sword myself because they're kind of a bit lanky and a bit angular.
They are a bit stretched. They're like a basketball team on tour.
Yeah, I think they take highlights very well, but they're kind of different to some of the other ones.
Yeah, I picked up some of the Lithuanians, but I might have a go at the Legio Heroica because I really like their models. They're always nice to paint. It's just how do we get through the whole border customs thing and did you see, buy one, pay for four.
I think he was saying I think he's posted something on his website, hasn't he, about how difficult it now is for him as a 15mm manufacturer in Italy to post stuff to the UK.
It's not worth doing small orders or something.
Yeah, something like that. It was I'm just trying to think what it was. Maybe it was on a different group or something.
It's a great.
Yeah, a lot of the smaller manufacturers in Europe have all said at the moment we're giving up, or it's really not worth our effort sending to the UK because some of the rules are so unclear. The couriers aren't working. They've just said we're not going to do it for the moment. We'll let things settle, or it's just too hard, which you can sort of understand.
Yeah, I think he was saying that I suppose we get used to having our postal service, which is, at the moment it's been kind of patchy and unreliable, but you can download and print postage and weigh things yourself and whack it in the post box and all the rest of it. But I think he was saying in the post I saw that if he's posting stuff abroad that's outside the EU, he has to go to the post box and fill in customs forms. So that takes time, and he's not had
And
he's had some
when
health
it
issues.
comes to the post office, they then have to transcribe everything from the customer's bit into their computer.
Yes, yeah, that's it. They have to kind of punch it in there and then. I think he was saying that if he did too
Really
much,
is a pain.
the people behind him would be in the queue would be getting more and more frustrated. It's just not geared up towards doing that. And maybe there's some postal systems like it, which.
And also just think of, it is in Italy, so we know Italian bureaucracy at the best of times is Byzantine. So
no, absolutely. Oh, here we go. Actually, I've got the news section here. It said the deliveries to the UK is becoming tragic. We cannot send packages up to 2 kilos outside the UE without a customs declaration. And that is 20 minutes preparing the documentation, then queuing at the post office, then another 20 minutes because the employee has to transcribe everything onto the computer to prepare the actual documentation. So really,
basically, you give me another reason why I'm pissed off about Brexit.
It could possibly be that. Yeah, I think it's starting to hit soldiers companies quite tricky.
I've got an idea for a workaround, but it does depend on how things go. But if the world's in Greece looks like it's going to be a goer, maybe we can all order stuff to be delivered to the hotel in Baccus.
Yeah,
Andy, I admire your optimism.
Yeah, getting stuff posted from Italy to Greece with a 1-week postal window, involving us actually being in Greece. That's kind of remarkable.
You can just imagine though from the custom, like the hotel reception. So you want me to accept deliveries of random parcels from all across Europe, hold it on site for a bunch of strange men to fly in and pick it up and take it away. Yes, I'm really going to do this.
It's almost as good as when I got some figures in the States.
So what's your problem?
Yeah, getting stuff ordered in the States and having it sent to my mother-in-law, then going and picking it up when we went to visit her, and then having to explain what they were. Now that was fun.
Probably just easier to say cocaine.
Yeah, but I just didn't want to share.
Yeah, that could have been the tricky one. But going back to the hussars, though. Going back to the hussars, though. The Essex ones are not bad.
Who else does winged hussars?
Essex definitely do them.
I've heard.
It's all about the wings, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, Jeff was saying from our club.
And the leopard skins.
Yeah.
It's angel wings.
He's got a bunch of the Essex winged hussars, and I think Clive did as well. He's saying they're great models, but one of the biggest downsides is because the wings, when they attach the torso, the stubs that go into the back of the torso to hold on is so tiny. Every time you look at it, wings fall off, which sort of makes
that's not going to survive me.
Peter, is this for the start of the Polish army, or just you fancy doing a unit of Polish winged hussars?
It's just it's a gateway drug.
Yeah.
I only got the winged hussars, but their friends came along with them.
If it's just cause, why not do it in 25s? Because they look so good that it's worth getting them as big as possible to see them.
25.
Yeah, Warlord Games do them, don't they, as well?
If Clive had an army of these things, they'll come up for sale sometime during the course of this year anyway.
Oh, fantastic! That's even.
No, I don't think your son's going to wait, though, is he? Really? I think it's. What about Lancashire? If you're looking something robust and straightforward, would they?
Yeah, I've got them. So I picked up some of those as part of their sale. The one downside of them is they've got the integrated pike or lance, and it's very thin metal. So and the hand's not big enough to drill it out and replace it with something proper. So it's
Simon, is there a 15mm Renaissance figure that you can't say, "Oh yeah, I got them"? And
look, over there.
Yeah. Look over there.
Sorry, can we count Mexico in that? Have you got Mexican Renaissance figures?
Yes.
No, not yet. I'm not doing that one.
See, Simon, it's lacking in your army.
Yeah.
Hey, Simon,
one model that would be nice. I bought a Polish army for Renaissance from the Old Glory range. I didn't get the winged hussars. You can buy them through. You can either order
Timecast, isn't it? Yeah, Timecast.
Or you can buy them through Timecast here in the UK, and They've got quite a good range of the Strzelecki foot with the guy with the cool hats, the capes, using a double-handed axe and a musket as a weapon. That's a win.
Now that's got my name written on it.
Yeah.
Now, just to sell me on it, are the axes gold?
After your
It can be.
they would be.
Obviously, hit with gold spray
It was open to interpretation. The historical thing faded, so therefore it was gold in the first place.
Yeah, but I didn't buy.
Sorry, did you say he's got an axe and
Yeah. So what
They
they've done
used
is
these two-handed axes as got a musket rest, didn't they?
Yeah, so they used to rest the musket because the musket was quite heavy. So like the European guys would have a little footrest, like a nice little stick with a Y. The Polish went, well, we've got this big axe. We've got a musket. Stand the axe up, put the musket between the axe blades, and hey forth. It's a great.
I like that style. That is more my kind of thing.
Afterwards,
I've got some of those from that Old Glory range, and they are really good. That Old Glory thing where there's 50 in a packet, but they all look slightly different, and they all cobble together. No, it's a really good range for it. Really, not just sure it's that great an army, unless Simon, you managed to make it good in your version of rules. When we're not quite sure, but so Peter,
historically they relieved Vienna.
Well, yeah, that's I'm not sure.
Well, that's the song Winged Hussars, Sabaton. It's basically them doing, as my son has informed me, the largest cavalry charge in history, steaming down, explaining me all the details. So I was like, I better doing some Winged Hussars then.
Yeah.
Viennese relief. That sounds like some people pay good money for.
Yeah, I was thinking I might have to put that in the description and see if we get much more hits on search or SEO. That could be it. Possibly from the wrong sort of people, though, I suspect. Although possibly from the right sort of people, we never know. So
we're not talking about biscuits. Yeah.
No. No. Exactly.
This means war.
So you're so what are you painting as we speak then, Peter? That looks like you're doing something there.
I'm slowly working my way through Napoleonics. I've been too much sad sack and working too much. So I think the Napoleonic army, I think Napoleon could have done his full campaign by the time I finished these buggers. But it's slowly but surely, it's just relaxing. It's a nice break from the realities of having to deal with stuff. So yeah, I don't mind. It's not like I'm going to be rushing to get them onto the table next weekend.
No,
that's
exactly.
The fun bit.
We've all got quite some time to do it. All right.
I might have a look at the Essex one. Sorry, Simon's waving various things because I've got an Essex Ottoman army as well.
No, I think the Essex are not too. If you can fasten the wings on, but I think that's going to be a problem with anybody's hussars. Really, it's just that's just what hussars are all about. It's just getting the right glue for it. But,
guerrilla glue time. Funny enough, I know a podcast about that.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's maybe something we'll come back to later because I'm not even sure I've had that Gorilla Glue conversation on the podcast actually. But Mr. Saunders, what are you glued to at the moment in terms of painting? Are you stuck on the Spanish or
finishing off the Spanish? Just a bit of odds and sods. 2 bases of light horse, which we spoke about again. Just got to finish them off. Another unit of heavy foot. And my commander-in-chief, my king from the Legio Heroica, which I'm doing very slowly, and I'm doing shading and things.
Wow. Wowee. You're not just slapping some ink on it or stuff like that. It's like real proper layering.
I've done his
wow.
I've done like darker reds in the creases and painted over it and things. And I've painted it black, undercoated it black and then painted white over it, but leaving some of the black in. So it's going to pop.
Is this because you're running out of miniatures to paint, Dave?
Yes, it is. But an unknown person is sending me a commission. So,
hey.
So I'm going to have lots of somebody else's figures to paint. So that will keep me occupied and save me some money. And,
Carry on, you might have some winged hussars today.
I did some serious job hunting this morning, but didn't get very far.
Did you find a serious job?
No, I'm getting stuck into it again now, though. So watch this space. That's the idea.
Right. Okay.
No,
so
I've got some Legio Heroica late Roman artillery pieces, which we're going to knock up at some point for the army I've already got. I thought that's the only thing I haven't got. I think that artillery might be better in version 4. So
it's got to be, hasn't it? That's got to be one of the things
that?
It's got to be one of the things they tweak, because it just doesn't quite work at the moment. And if version 4 is sweeping up all the things that don't quite work, those Roman artillery just don't quite do it, do they? Really? But maybe there'll be something
this week, though. So this Lego Heroica Spanish army, I've put them all on. I've got war bases, and war bases nicely drilled out, 2 holes per base.
Yeah.
To fit their earth magnets in. So the bases are now earth magneted. In fact, I can't separate these 2 from each other. They're that strong. And,
so why not use glue?
No. What's really so it's better than magna base. They're actually more solid. I think they're going to sit in a tin better when I'm transporting them on the tube and that, or flying to Europe as I will be. But
fingers crossed.
This is really clever. I've got my electronic grass machine, which you've got to have 2 connections with to make it stick. So you put the glue on the base and then shake the grass on the electrostatic grass onto it. And then you have to wave the little wandy bit over the top. And it makes a little hissy sound when they all stand up.
Right.
Your Honour.
Does it actually make that much of a difference?
I've got this what's it, crocodile clip with a paper.
Yeah.
And you stick that to the base magnets. And that creates the connection.
Dave, I know we normally only do these podcasts in audio, but your face here is so excited. I'm tempted to release a little video bit of this.
Look, that's my crocodile clip holding up my base.
I think he's been electrocuting himself too much.
Yeah, I think he's been doing electroconvulsive shock therapy at home or something like that.
Dave, just go back to sniffing the glue. Much safer.
You're going to lose that
like
commission
Pavlov's
painting.
Dog. You know, he keeps electrocuting himself and has to go paint another figure.
But I thought I had some sort of light taps when I put the crocodile clip against the box thing, the shaky box thing, and you get a tiny little shock.
That's the technical term, isn't it? The shaky box thing.
Yeah.
No,
so you've got the paper clip.
That's afterwards.
Yeah.
The other day, I had
what's known as the hopper.
The hopper.
Yeah. But the other
Thank you
day,
for bringing us back to normal.
Properly electrocute myself with it.
Right. But it could only be one of those kind of rectangular 9-volt batteries, surely. It can't be.
Not the Duracell AA.
Mains.
If you're not doing it mains, you're not doing it properly, mate.
So how much of a difference does it make shocking the grass to make it all stand up, seeing as though it's like 2 mil?
It does make a difference.
Makes a fair difference, actually.
Yeah, I think it's really good.
If you watch any of the videos people doing doing with flocking, you can see the difference compared to just dumping grass on and shaking it off.
Yeah, exactly.
And don't forget, there's channels on YouTube of flocking videos, which if you're ever struggling to sleep,
I am not searching.
No, you're not searching for flocking videos. Yeah,
no,
I'm looking for some flocking
tutorials.
Right. Well, Dave, maybe you should be filming them. Maybe this could be it.
I wouldn't go that far. There's far better people than I am.
Good ones to watch. Luke Towan, he's a railroad modeler.
Yeah, I think I'll see.
And Geek Gaming Scenics.
And are these just specifically good to watch about grass flocking, or are they just generally good?
Oh, generally good for sort of terrain building, I guess.
They don't just specialize in different flocking techniques.
No.
You know.
I was getting a bit worried then. It was just flockers.
Yeah.
This
week we'll be doing 9mm glass. Last week we did 7, and I think you'll find 9 in the autumn colours is much more effective when used with electrostatic at least 3.8 volts.
You'd be surprised. Some static grasses are better than others.
Of course they are.
Did you say 3.8 volts? 240 will go home.
Wow.
Yeah, 240 will go home.
I can see.
Are we getting back into
AC/DC?
Yeah. Aren't we getting back into that conversation about the Victrix painting? What was that one which with a different...
2 or 3 millimeter airbrush thing, was it?
Yes, the 2.8mm aperture on
Yeah,
your
it's
airbrush.
it's all about the nozzle.
It's all about that, isn't it? Yeah, you don't want to be getting your flocking stuck in your airbrush nozzle, really, do you?
8mm nozzle on your airbrush. Bleeding hell.
What was it?
That would be for spraying a real size car.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's German panties, isn't it?
Like, for airbrush models, yeah.
That's where I've been going wrong.
No,
That's obviously the problem, isn't it? That's obviously the answer.
I thought it worked quite well for the undercoat.
Right. So, Dave, didn't you say at some point you were toying with getting some 25mm or 28mm?
Yeah, I gave up on that. I think it's cash strapped is the
Right. Okay. Yeah, no, it's a challenge. So hopefully this commission thing will get you will arrive and we'll be talking about what figures you're painting for someone else next week.
Yeah, that's the plan. Battle of the Boyne, which I know nothing about, so I'm doing research.
Doing some research. Okay. All right. Well, Adam, what about you? Is it are the Dacians getting close to the end? Has those Gallic cavalry arrived in the post?
They have. Dacians are halfway there. I've done a second batch of 4. Still waiting to put the transfers on because I need to get some micro, whatever the last word is, possibly.
Microsoft?
Yeah. So I'll get some of that. Yeah. So I'm on the 3rd batch now. The 4th batch's been prepped and sprayed. The Gallic cavalry turned up today. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Good.
They're going to be the next people painted. Your people are, or your parts of people are somewhere in the ether between Bournemouth and London as we speak. Other than that, not too much painting excitement. I've been looking at perhaps buying stuff, and again, here's some advice some people might give because I've been looking at sort of like rounding out needed terrain. So the first thing is I've got some collection of cowboys and that for Dead Man's Hand, which is a real fun, fun little game actually, and I recommend it for a sort of like evenings, not too serious entertainment. But I've always played with other people's terrain, so I want to do my own Wild West town. Any recommendations?
Do you want to paint it? Paint it or
I'll paint it myself because pre-painted is just
okay. TT Combat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sarissa.
Combat's great, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Kentucky.
And then
Products for Wargamers.
Products for Wargamers do some good Wild West stuff as well. TT Combat or Products for Wargamers.
Just be careful. One building that I got from them. It was when I opened it up, I found out it was a mix of parts from 2 different buildings, and it didn't work.
No. But it took you 4 hours to discover that.
Yeah. It wasn't one of those ones which was like being half built and the rest of it was supposed to be just the framework or something like that.
No, it's just couple of the walls were wrong for the building. So they didn't fit with the others.
Yeah. No, I think I've got some quite a bit of the not TT Combat, the Products for Wargamers stuff because I've got some Dead Man's Hand scenery that also gets used for Malifaux. I just or did used to get used for Malifaux that I'm sure you've played on at some point, Adam. But yeah, it's kind of neat. But it's an odd one, isn't it? Cowboy stuff because I played Dead Man's Hand with Jeff, who's apparently doing much better now. He'll be hopefully out of hospital and recovering from COVID soon. One of our club mates, and we played some Dead Man's Hand, but I think it's just a beer and pretzels game. I think it's got lots of rules to try and take it more seriously and turn it into a campaign, but you just end up doing the same sort of thing a lot of the time, and then people get shot.
Well, the reason why I like it is because I've played it in not in Torrent actually, another toy shop in Bournemouth, and we got the blokes to put on the music from The Good, Bad and the Ugly on the background, and you can just be a bit. So you've got to treat it like a cinematic experience rather. You've got to be telling the story rather than playing the game, and it's quite fun. Yeah, nothing too serious, but yeah, I enjoy it. Yeah, and I've got spoken really bad Mexican accents with my Mexican banditos, which was
well, you're still wearing the bandana, so I can see the appeal there for sure.
And the other thing, similar, 25mm buildings for Ancients, mainly for Saga actually, because I do sometimes play Saga. but I can use them from the other 25mm as well. Companies that do the best, sort of like Dark Agey, I suppose, huts.
And war bases do.
Bases?
Yeah,
war bases.
They do a Saxon house.
They do a couple. I think Sarissa do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be putting an order in for war bases.
MDF stuff. Hovels.
Yeah.
Hovels
Is that
one.
resin?
Yeah.
Hovels.
That's resin. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No,
actually, how old are your?
And
how old is your
foreground do MDF ones pre-paints?
Yeah.
Yeah. How old are your kids now, Adam?
11 and 9.
11 and 9. So, do you think that's the age at which you could like kidnap one of their teddy bears and skin it and use it to create a furry sort of thatch thing for your Iron Age hut? Do you think they notice, or would they get upset
if I
still?
want a purple thatch, or it's like, because most teddy bear furs aren't teddy bear fur. No, most teddy bears aren't teddy bear fur coloured anymore. So
Right.
you got to buy the proper stuff. Oh, talking to me, kids, and looking at the other side of my table that I'm painting on. My children had a painting session today as well. So it's like me and the kids were painting toy soldiers, which is a lovely, sweet thing. Because bought them a box of Perry's foot soldiers, and they did a first batch of 4, and now they're doing a batch of 8 each, which they're going to use skirmish games for. So that's all a lovely parental experience.
Yeah. So you'll have like medieval warriors going around a Wild West town, jumping on and off the train, something like that.
Sounds good enough to me.
Sounds good. Sounds historical. All sorts of different historical bits together.
This means war.
Simon, what about you? I'm guessing there's something Renaissance and shopping involved.
Yep. So I've been busy painting up the Ottoman Turkish army. So I've been trying to do the Kapakuli, which is their nobility of mounted nobility on horses and all that. So try to do
proper little patterns.
The idea of some have got barding, some have just got cloth on the horse and all that. So I've done like little diamonds, chevrons on the horses. Some of them with barding, they've got little random dots to make them rather interesting. So they're starting to come out quite nice. So I've now, with the weather being quite miserable on the weekend, managed to get 3 commanders done and about 5 bases of heavy cavalry of various sorts with bow, big sticks, lances and all that. And 6 bases of light horse have been repainted. So
cool.
There'll be enough.
How are you finding those figures now that you're getting into the detail of painting them?
The molds are a little tired, so a nice looking model. If you get too close up to it, you can see the lack of detail. They don't take to a wash particularly easy. So, like a museum or an Essex one where you've got lots of crevices where a wash can sink into. These, the depth of the cracks and creases is quite low. So you've got to be very careful. If you're a little bit too heavy-handed with the paint, you lose a lot of that detail. So, around the horse's head, where you normally see the eyes, the long nose and the muzzle and all that, and then the armor plating goes on top of it. A lot of that sort of blends in together, so it's a little bit hard to pick out where bits are. But the wash and looking at 3 foot, they'll look pretty good.
Yep.
There's enough detail once you paint with a few golds and other colours. They should look quite spectacular, I hope. They'll look really good as well as the winged hussars chase them across the table.
Yeah, I guess so, as they retreat. And have you done any more accidental shopping of the week?
The museum order arrived, so that was quite nice. So I got all my figures to do my Alexander the Great army and a few of the Toluca, the hoplite figures, just to paint for the sheer hell of it. And while I was there, I may have bought some Renaissance artillery for the Landsnechts, because if you're going to have a heavy foot, you need the full suite. And the other one I bought just for something different is for the Turks. I bought some of the, I think it's War Games Designs, the pre-made banners.
Okay, all right.
Let's see if I can find them again.
Yeah.
Adam, sorry, before I forget, the other one you need to look at is Charlie Foxtrot models.
Okay.
And here's one we did earlier. Well,
Right.
you can't see it properly because I'm going to turn the background off. But yeah, they're quite nice. Sort that out.
Charlie Foxtrot. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I bought some of these banners. They're only a couple of quid for a sheet. Since I don't have access to a colour printer or anything, I thought just to try something different, I'll buy a couple of these pre-made banners to see how they'll look for the Turks. So nice bright colours, a few different logos and things like that.
Actually, that's an interesting question, isn't it? I wonder if some of these paper banner guys have been doing better because people don't have access to work printers at the moment.
Yeah, I can't remember which vendor I saw, but one guy said, "Can you please don't panic purchase all of your banners? I've got enough stock to go around, but if someone bought like 20 or 30 sheets of one particular range, he'd run out."
Oh, that was Little Big Man, wasn't it? He was telling people not to order stuff they didn't need because he was exhausted or something like that. Wow. That's
Carrying all the cash to the bank, it must be very tiring.
Yeah.
Must be. Yes, indeed. Yeah, amazing.
I thought some of these would look quite nice on the commanders and all that, just to give, again, make it the army a little bit more pretty, and banners improve an army.
Yeah, they do.
No, definitely. That's good. Excellent. All right, so that's been used. So, Tamsin, are you still in house limbo, or did you just give up
I'm
and
not in house
crack?
limbo. Well, not on that move, because when I went up last week to take a look at it, I just realised that works that I thought could wait until I'd moved it, until after I'd moved it. No. There's a lot of stuff that would need to be done before I could move in, and there's no way I could
do it.
Project manage that from London. So
right. Okay. Yep.
So I've due my offer, thankfully, before exchange of contracts. So.
Oh no. Okay.
So yeah. So I'm going to be start back to square one on looking for somewhere.
So you'll be able to do internet shopping then for an actual house. That's basically it.
I ordered some US paratroopers for my New Guinea campaigns. Right, so that was North Star, IMX Partisan, and Crusader. And
did you order the road signs as well?
No, I didn't. I think I can make those myself.
Right.
Yeah, I suppose you probably could. Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah. As it's going to be quite a while before any potential move now. I've recently painting, so I dragged out some figures onto the table. I've started work on some 6mm ACW.
6mm ACW. Yeah. Okay, that's I'm just trying to think who, because I've got some of those from years and years ago from Irregular on the strip figures.
Once I've got a Baccus.
Okay.
Yeah, Baccus ones are nice.
But I should be able to do a much better job on those than I've done on my 10mm, I imagine. Although Baccus ones are quite big, aren't they? They're getting up to. Yeah, they're quite chunky. So have you just had them kicking around for a while, or is that a restart of an old project?
Sort of primed on painting sticks and primed for about 5 years, possibly.
Wow. Okay, that's the proper project when you dig something like that out, isn't it? That's good.
Yeah, so it's mostly cavalry, some artillery, some commanders. So.
And at 6mm with Baccus, then because obviously those new Warlord games, 13.5mm ones, is just one strip for both armies, in inverted commas. But do Baccus do different figures for each side, or do they just do infantry?
Yeah, they do different figures for each side. So
right. So they do more detail in 6mm than the Warlord games do in, or more customization the Warlord games do in 13.5.
Well, sort of, yeah.
Up to a point. Okay, it's not quite Magic Baccus stuff then. Wow. Yeah. Okay, so we'll be expecting to see some 28mm US paras in Papua New Guinea in the foreseeable future, and then another 6 months. Have you got the infantry done already then, or did you just start with the ones that you got?
I did infantry and some cavalry, some artillery, and Ben decided to needed to do a bit more cavalry.
I will have to see if I can dig out the those ones that I had years ago and check that they've not just all rotted away or something like that. They've probably forgotten that I own them. Never mind the other way round. It's just kind of frightening. Okay. Just trying to think what I've been up to this week. So I think this has been the rebasing project has continued. In fact, I had been meaning last week to talk more about the 4 little Cruel Seas ships, the little motor torpedo boats that I'd done, that were both cover-mounted sprues from War Games, whatever it is, whichever one of the 2 near identical magazines has cover-mounted sprues from Warlord Games. War Games Illustrated, yeah. And I don't know why I'd ended up with 2 of the sprues, because I very sporadically buy the magazine. And I actually, because I was spraying some stuff grey for an undercoat, I just clipped these things off the sprues and stuck them together really quickly and just sprayed them grey, and then did a couple more colours of light grey and some stuff on the decks. And they do look kind of cute little ships. You know, they're actually, I'd not really realised, but they're 1/300 scale in theory. So I'm not quite sure whether my ultra modern 1/300 scale armies are going to ever invade a port that's got some historic naval dockyard of Second World War American PT boats and German S boats next to it. But I guess you could use them for that, those waterline models. But I just wonder, is that a game that, whether we've had this conversation before, and how many people have bought that set and spent more time buying it than actually getting it on the table?
That would be me.
You've got it.
Yeah.
You've got it.
It's one of those games. Yeah, I fancy giving it a go. I had the original Airfix one back when I was a kid. Loved it, putting it together, painting, and everything else. So I had to get it. It's just it came along at a time where I just didn't get time, because we had a whole succession of competitions. Playing ADLG. So it's one of those things that it's sat there staring at me, waiting. Oh, you've got to have a chance now to paint it and do it, because we're in lockdown. So I think once I get past these Napoleonics, I'm going to have a go at that and get it all done for a laugh, because I've got British and American boats, because I just fancy doing it for a laugh.
Yours are still on the sprue then, in the box, the whole thing?
I've made up 3 samples, 3 whole samples.
Okay.
Roland played it at the club. I'll see him playing it at the club. It looks good.
Yeah, did he enjoy it?
Yeah, he had the armed trawler, which was fun.
Yeah, because there was a serious piece of kit. There's a lot of people making MDF stuff like for that as well, because it's all waterline, isn't it? It's you could probably get a lot of the things.
I bought some waterline merchant ships, small coasters, to give a convoy scenario.
So Andy, sorry, are we saying that there's a game of Second World War PT boats and torpedo boats, and you bought some things which can only really be described as targets, really?
Yeah,
for that?
Basically, yeah.
Okay, so that's very generous of you to say yes. I'm quite happy to come along and play the role of target in this. So I'm just going to move forward.
Well, you do get some ships to defend them with.
Oh, right. Oh, you've got ships to defend them with as well.
Yeah, okay. It'd be a bit dull otherwise.
All right. Sorry, I thought you just bought the merchantman and your job was just to sail from one side of the table to the other and sort that out. No. Okay. So, but they're nice little things. They're not too detailed, but I guess ships at that scale probably aren't. And it does make you wonder what the rules are. But it's just that sort of scratch the itch of going, yeah, I'll do those for a little bit of a break. And I think they're in the same spray batch as all my Second World War stuff, which I'd undercoated. And I've now been picking up, after having done those 10mm Germans with the camo from last week, I've been doing a few of the Brits, which I kind of couldn't get hold of a spray coat for the British bronze green. So I actually bought some as paint, and I kind of think that I should be spraying all tanks, but I've been been painting these, which is kind of really slightly weird. So I've been doing some of the Butler's printed models ones. I've got some of those Victrix ones, the Shermans that we talked about. I've got some Pithead, got a bit of Pendragon as well, and it's a much darker green than what I used to think that I was painting my British in. And when I started painting, I was like, oh my god, have I done this right? But now I've seen a lot of it and I've started to dry brush it. I'm really getting to quite like it. But that conversation we had about the Victrix 10mm tanks being too good from a long time ago, Adam, I think we were talking about that. Now that I'm getting the things built and starting to get them dry brushed and get them based up, I'm actually starting to change my mind on that. In the detail that comes up on them with a bit of a dry brush is really, really good, and it is materially better than the metal ones that I've got from any other manufacturer. They do look really, really sharp. And the other thing that I've found with them, and this is like a plague of first world problems for 10mm tanks, is the turrets. When you push the turrets in, they stay on. So you can kind of hold them upside down and the turret stays on. Whereas your textbook problem with a lot of 10mm tanks is the turret just sort of falls off.
Which is bad, because I've sort of like glue the turrets on just because.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that takes away the whole fun of turning the turret to point at the enemy
and
when you move.
Pew, pew, pew. Yeah, exactly. So the fact that I'm thinking, so it actually is a really nice model. It's really nicely detailed. It is better than the Pendragon or the Pithead ones, I think. The detail does come up really well on the dry brush. I haven't used 42 different colors like Victrix suggested. I've used like one and about 2 or 3 dry brushes, and I've even shamefully used German track color on them, because now that I've got a bottle of track color paint, I'm going to paint all my tracks in that track color, which has been good. But no, I am actually really, really liking them, and it's still that weird thing that they do cost slightly more than the metal tanks, and they are plastic injection molded on a sprue with like 6 pieces, but they cost slightly more each, which I still can't quite get my head around why that's a problem. But I think they are really good. They're really
okay.
Really
so
good.
Next question then, because this might not be an issue in 5 years' time, but at the moment the range is quite small. So if you put them on table with your metal ones, do they kind of not stand out too much?
No, not at all. Well, certainly not in the dark bronze green. I think in a camo they wouldn't stand out as well. They're fine. They've just got more detail on the back, whatever it be called. That sort of ventilation exhaust plate that has raised detail on the back of them. This is never going to show, is it? Really,
Louvre they call it, something like that.
Yeah, louvres and stuff like that, and on the front. But you can stick them next to the other ones. They're absolutely fine. The colouring and the rest of it, but they are decent models, and the fact that the lid stays on when you pick them up is really, really good. It's the weight takes a bit of getting used to, but I've got quite a few of the Takara plastic pre-paints as well that you kind of get used to. I think the little trucks from Butler's or these 3D printed ones, they do have a lot of lines on them for the 3D printing, and on the top that it's almost the reverse of the that kind of thing with the Victrix tanks. When you look at them, you think, oh dear, these look whatever, but from wargaming distances, it does start to disappear. It didn't go away with an undercoat and the paint. You can still sort of see it, and if you're looking really closely, you can literally see how it's been built up. I've got one of these little British, whatever they are, truck carrier things that pulled artillery, that pulled 25 pounds.
Prime mover things they call them, isn't they?
Yeah, the prime mover things. And
Morris Quad.
Morris Quad, that's it exactly. And they've got kind of a sort of pitched tent roof thing. In the way the shape is at the top, and you can see that's been built up with little individual layers, and I'm wondering whether it's going to work when I put the stars on the side of them, because the sides of the tanks or the vehicles are actually ribbed in a way on a very small level because it's been built up with layers. But
what you need is some Microsoft Sol.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm going to use it for. I'm going to think, brilliant, that's all come into it. And then the other thing, I'm repainting or rebasing a load of old stuff. I've got some old minifigs, Bren carriers here. And the Bren carriers, like those Italian tankettes, how bloody small are they in real? How did that ever work?
They're like a Jeep.
Did that ever work? Exactly. But how did that work? How did anybody fit in them?
That you could get 3 or 4 people in them. You could get 3 or 4 people in a Jeep.
Yeah.
I mean, they're absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Bren carriers are absolutely brilliant because it's like, no, they're not an armoured fighting vehicle. They're a fully tracked, lightly armoured Jeep, which is kind of really, really useful. But yeah, they were small. They're deliberately small. You can't be seen. 4 people, 2 in the back, probably hanging out a bit, but no, they're cool.
You could actually get 4 in the back, plus the driver and commander in the front.
But how?
Not as a mini as well. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah,
they'd also tow artillery and stuff with it as well.
But how do you get 4 in the back, really? Because if they're like these models, if you had 4 in
the
the
back,
doing a front
facing, it was done.
Wasn't it 2 each side facing outwards, sort of thing?
But there's 2 each side, which I get. But the only way you do that with 10mm figures is if you cut them off at the waist. So unless it was used for British soldiers with really, really short legs, or they were doing a Fred Flintstone along the bottom or something, how did 4 people actually fit in the back of all these? It's a bloody mystery to me. So I'm redoing some of those and redoing these British, and they're starting to come together. I think I've accidentally ordered far too many British paratrooper Jeeps from Pithead, but they are really, really cool. But I appear to have a lot more than appears to be allowed in the BKC lists, even using them for recce and transport and other things, but minor detail. And I've been working on that, and then I've been rebasing and getting somewhere with all my my Russ and Vikings, and that exercise is actually starting to feel like it might be worth doing, which because they do look much nicer than they did before. Because I was thinking for a while that I'm just wasting my I'm doing make work here, but redoing those and tidying up the spears for a 20-year-old army, it's a pain in the whatever to repaint all the spears, but they are soft metal spears, so they all bend and they all flex and they all chip bits off, and that just repainting the spears refreshes them an awful lot, and mixing up so I've got, it used to all just be like Viking blokes, and now I've got, these have got 200 cut weapons, and these have got swords, and these have got spears, and these have all got the Russ shields, and it really does make a difference to get them a little bit more. So that's been kind of worthwhile as well. And I'm just staring at whether the weather's going to, whether I can actually catch up with Simon and get hold of some of these Thracians that I think are in that museum order, and do a bit of a swap there. I also got contacted by a bloke on Facebook on Madaxeman, who's got a Kickstarter for a 13th century baronial wars 10mm set of figures that wants to send us some. So if I get hold of those, I'll share some of them out and have a look. I'll just quickly pop this up. It's a Kickstarter for 13th century baronial wars from a company in Penkridge, but they look. We
can keep Dave busy with painting.
Yeah, keep Dave busy doing them, but they look really super sharp for 10mm. Like ridiculous.
They look really nice.
They're amazing.
Yeah, they look really, really good for that. So I'll hopefully get some of those, and we can have a look at those. I had a look. It's something like 13 years since I did. Or 12 years since I did a 10mm medieval army, which is a bit weird. And I'm kind of in two minds for it as a scale for ancients, because I don't know. I just think you do need to see the figures a bit more, and 15mm decent and okay. But no, it'd be interesting to see what they're like, which is nice.
But Clive had a 10mm armies, and one of the first times we played ADLG. I was using his Macedonian army, and in 10 mil, in 15 mil scale bases, a pike phalanx does look quite impressive.
Yeah, I've always thought if I was going to do it, I might do it on the 25 mil basis to get really big, but I don't know. It's just a lot of effort for something that I've already got. Really quite a lot. But
if I was starting again completely, I would probably I'd prefer 10 to 15 mil as a figure scale. But if you've got loads and loads of stuff that are 15 mil already, it's not that much better to make it worthwhile painting all the bloody things again.
Yeah, no, I suppose that's it. You do start from that psychological position of I've already got these. What am I actually going to do and redo that? But yeah, so I've kind of got bogged down between redoing a load of these Brits and doing this rebasing thing and some other odds and sods. So it's I kind of feel I'm halfway between about finishing 3 or 4 different projects and work out which one's next to do. But that's the challenge of being a wargamer, I guess.
This means war.
Question for you on a slightly different subject, because I've been considering, and this is a project further out, doing a Central or East Asian army, which probably will involve lots of flowing silks, which everything you said about contrast paints, I'm sold, and that sounds like it would be the way to go. But I then come up with an additional question of how did you paint the horses? Did you do them how you always used to? And is a different painting style on the same model kind of noticeable? You know what I mean?
I did them in the way that I learned with the Hungarians from beginning of first lockdown, which was white undercoat, slightly thinnish wash or colour of different browns, then do the details, and then do army painter washes with progressively darker washes on the bottom of the legs.
I did it with the Arabs. So I followed Tim with the contrast paints with the Arabs and just did the horses with my coat d'arms as usual. But I just tried to be a bit lighter on the army painter because the colours on the contrast, you undercoat white and use the contrast. They ping. It's great.
Because what I was thinking is, white for the horses, white undercoat, using the coat d'arms paint thinned down a little bit.
Yeah,
because it's almost the same effect. It'll look sort of like darker in the creases and sort of like a lot lighter, and then sort of like doing the darker legs, black legs or something. But yeah, it's like I'm just a bit worried. Contrast paints is such a different painting style to any other painting style there is really.
It works.
Okay,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that that it's a different way of delivering it, but the end result is kind of you're doing an ink wash and a light base coat in one.
Okay.
So you're getting halfway between the two. So it's actually a more efficient way of doing it. But if you said, I'm going to paint this cloak light blue and then cover it in army painter military blue ink, that would be a 2-stage process. And you could I'm going to hit it with contrast paint and you get the same result in one. So it's not
Tamsin
would
do it in like 5 different layers.
Yeah, layers and all sorts of different things.
Yeah.
Better.
I do one lot of contrast.
Yeah,
fair enough.
But also ultimately the silky clothes are a different texture and a different thing to the horses. So if they look different, that's not actually such an issue. But I didn't find. I think it would be more difficult to do. No, it wouldn't work to do contrast paints, and maybe it'd be harder to do contrast paints and layering, actually, because contrast paints is a shade. So you almost want to do a shade on the horses as well. And the idea of doing the horses with slightly thinned down coat arms and then darker washes from the bottom up just seems to work really well. I feel pleased about doing it, but maybe give it a go on those half dozen Gauls or 4 Gauls or whatever that's come through.
Mm-hmm. I'll do a test at some point. Yeah. But as I say, that's for a project that far down the road.
Okay, and as we move down the road, that's probably time for us to move on to the next part of the podcast.
This means war.
Right, so look, we've done painting and shopping, I think, as well. So let's talk about games. So looking here, there must be a couple of people here who played each other at some point. I'm guessing, Simon, you're normally doing some Renaissance stuff. Which person up here have you picked on this time?
So Andy and I had another Italian Wars game where the Germans invaded the north of Italy to see the combination of schnitzel and pasta.
No, it was the Spanish who invaded, not the Germans.
Oh, sorry, the Spanish. My apologies. Yes, it was the Imperial Spanish. So the big question: paella versus risotto. Yeah. And Spain is very happy to leave Milan as an independent kingdom for the moment, and we'll come back for another round. It was one of those games where things happened. It looked like for a while I was going to absolutely stonk Andy, and in one turn, it all went horribly wrong. So some of my big foot units managed to burst through Andy's units, and we thought, here we go, kill the front units. I can go into the next, charge into them. I charge artillery in the flank. The artillery stands. Next turn wounds me. I then charge another artillery unit in the front. It proceeds to beat me.
Wow.
And then its mate next to him goes, oh, hang on, watch this. 6-1. And then most of my foot unit just disappears into red mist. And then just there's gaping holes of Spanish Cornella units, the Kiel with some arquebus units, just all disappeared into mist. It's like, well, that went from a guaranteed win to broke quite spectacularly.
So was that quickly run away and rewrite part of the rules kind of moment, or was it just the dice were so extreme it didn't matter?
Yeah, there's a couple of special expansions for when Simon's losing, he can quote these rules and he always wins.
No, I think that works definitely. That's legitimate.
But it was a good game. We got compared to like some of the games of Fogar we had in Italian War, where you get those big Italian War periods where everyone stands against each other and looks there, and 3.5 hours later you've got a draw. We had a tercio, lots of keels, the colonelli units. We had, really scaringly, we had 4 arquebus units of just LMI arquebus running around actually doing things. We made a couple of tweaks to the rules to make them justifiable, because normally arquebus units are just useless.
Yeah, the range is normally too short, isn't it? They normally shoot and then get hit and they're gone.
Yeah, and we made a couple of little changes to make them a bit more effective. They still get ridden down if, Crassius find them out in the open.
Or even in the field.
Well, what happened in real life with them anyway? Did they actually work better than that, or did they just get ridden down a lot?
They were primarily, if you look at the history, a lot of their effectiveness was when they were deployed behind fortifications or behind a moat or things like that. The gendarmes or the opponent would come charging up against them, can't get through the fortifications, so the arquebus can really blow them away, and then the gendarmes come flank.
It's either fortifications, and this is a classic, when the Swiss got their asses handed to them, they charged a load of Spanish arquebuses that they were it was an ornamental garden or something silly, but it basically meant it was a 10-foot wall that they were on the top of behind stone balustrades. So they did the Swiss really, really comprehensively. And the other one is Pavia, where they did the French gendarmes by standing behind hedges and bushes and going, you're dead, bang, you're dead, bang, you're dead, bang. Oh, we've captured the French king. So you had to be careful with them. They needed to be not exposed, but if they were in the right place at the right time, they would beat anyone.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that we got working in the game quite nicely. So we had arquebus being supported by keels and other foot units to protect them. So as something scary would come up, the arquebus could get a shot off, then get protected, or more scary things would advance up, so the arquebus was safe. But Andy managed to go very nicely, decided to show the power of the gendarmes. So I had an arquebus unit in an enclosed field behind the walls. We thought we're safe here. We'll get a couple of cheeky shots of the gendarmes. The Italians went, no, I'm not having a bar of that. Just 2 gendarmes, mounted gendarmes, charged into the enclosed field, 6-1 me, and the arquebus unit disappeared into red mist. We went.
Well, I did have to throw my leader in.
Yeah, so it was, you know.
And the first turn was a bit scary because under Simon's rules, armor doesn't count against shot in the first round. So, you know, in ADLG, you say, "Oh, we're knights, we got armor, we don't care." In this rules, if it goes wrong, your armor doesn't save you.
I like the way that you said "in Simon's rules" just before you talked about something that you thought was going to disadvantage you in the combat. That worked really well. That was quite nicely done. So, how was the rest of the game from your side of it, then, Andy? Did it feel? Did it work? Did you?
Well, yes. I mean, I there's a couple of interesting learnings, but I did think I was going to lose at one stage because Simon's colonels were just piling through, and it's very easy to create a traffic jam where you get yourself in a difficult position and can't maneuver out of it with double-sized units, and that's something you need to learn. I don't think I've mastered it yet, but the first time you play the game, I suspect you could very easily get yourself in a position where you just cannot move your guys anywhere useful because they're stuck behind other people.
That gives quite a different feel for it, doesn't it? If you're used to being able to just sort of swap individual units round with single unit moves and things like that, and slides, but you just can't do that if things are double width.
No, traffic control becomes a factor in your planning.
God, we're back to Napoleonic. The biography of Napoleon I'm reading. I'm sure that will come up at some point, but at the moment I think I'm still in some stage where.
Before we go on, Peter, here's a good example. Here's a really good story to show the strength and weaknesses of arquebusiers at this time. Quite late in the Italian wars, there was a battle, and gunpowder was getting more and more popular and more effective, and people realised it was. So they came up with this tactic of, in the pike block, what we'll do is have the second rank as arquebusiers. So just before we close, they can fire, of course, the sword in the enemy pike block, and then we crash in. Brilliant idea. Both sides tried it. And what happened was pike blocks got close to each other. Second rank fires. So all the first rank gets killed of pikes. Brilliant. Really worked. But then you've got a row of arquebusiers stood in between 2 pike blocks that are about to hit each other. And it was like arquebusier jam.
Squashed.
So they didn't try it again. But that really clearly shows the strengths and weaknesses of this silly weapon.
God, no, that does sound quite frightening. Do you remember the name of the battle, or is that?
Well, I think it was Carousel, wasn't it? If someone.
So I remember playing around with one, and the bullets are actually massive. They're like great big elephant shots.
Sorry, you've played around. Like, I can buy into the idea that you accidentally bought Warlord Games Cruel Seas, but you accidentally bought an arquebus.
No, I didn't buy one.
Don't be silly. Yes, of course.
Well, he thought it was going to be 28 mil, but it turns out it was 1-to-1 scale.
It was real scale.
Yeah, it was one of those. It's scale explosion things,
Yeah.
But they're quite heavy things, and the bullet is massive, and a hell of a kick.
Yeah.
Where was this?
South London.
Well, he's told us about his back garden many times. I know it's probably got a small medieval castle there, isn't there?
Don't you have a shooting range in your back garden?
Yeah, down by the stables, isn't it, or something?
No. You got to move it away from the stables. So you get a decent distance. It scares the horses.
Yes, you don't want to scare the horses, do you? No, not at all. Not at all. Okay. And Dave, we didn't actually fight a battle this week, but we re-watched one, didn't we? We the game we played the week before on Tabletop Simulator. We've done a sort of match of the day, Gary Lineker-esque, or possibly some of the more less interesting people, which is saying something. Recreation of it, in which we watched the video of the Tabletop Simulator game and talked to each other through it to see how we were feeling during the game, which was kind of weird, which will appear as a video at some point in the next couple of days, I think, or possibly even before this podcast comes out. But it was interesting to see a game that you played, literally see every single bit of it again.
I thought it was kind of quadruple speed.
Yeah, but it has to be 8 times speed, otherwise you lose the will to live. You don't want to be spending more than 20 minutes reliving a game that you've gone through once before.
How to do his match of the day with edited highlights?
Yes, basically it is. Yeah.
Watching 2.5 hours while somebody goes, no, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, faffing about.
but doing it at that speed was quite amusing. I loved it. I thought it's the future. I thought
Yeah, no, it was an interesting way. I think you sort of see what you've not done properly a bit more clearly. It was kind of interesting.
Is this the future of esports then?
I thought it was Time Commanders for YouTube generation.
Yeah, yeah, we're doing our own version of Time Commanders. That's actually the secret. So that's not. And then I did also have a game against Richard Case as well. He was using a Byzantine list as well that did exactly what you did in our game, Dave, and redeployed against. I used that Arab army that I put together on Tabletop Simulator with I used it as one with a Tibetan ally, so a whole block of cataphracts in the middle, and the terrain felt a bit funny, which didn't help when my I think my Tibetan ally went unreliable, so they were unreliable for large parts of the game. So
you try to say he stumped you?
Well, no, I really had him on the back foot, but I only was using one command out of 3, and it worked for a while. It worked better than it should have done for a while, but then eventually, mathematics and ability both came into play. And
you mean they actually caught up to your figures?
Well, no, sort of. I got some good stuff. The mediocre medium cavalry that are one of my favourite rubbish troops.
Medium cavalry. You can't get much more rubbish troops than that.
No, they're grand. They were charging forward. They were my cutting edge. They're my Schwerpunkt, and they nearly managed to overrun his artillery and took down a load of his bowmen as well before he could redeploy. They just lurched at him and rolled along, chasing his light horse. I went straight into his bow-armed infantry and took them out. But
that is funny.
It really was.
Saves his light horse right from running away from mediocre cavalry.
Yeah, well, mediocre impact cavalry. So
okay,
tremendously good value. So they would have beat them comfortably, I think, if they'd reached them. So, but that was entertaining. But Adam, what about you? Have you been playing against the kids this week? Or
yeah, I had a face-to-face game with the boy. His first ever game of ADLG.
Oh wow! That's how did that go? Stuff.
And we actually did ADLG 100, which are 100-point armies, which is in the book, because that was I think it would have been starting off manageable with just one commander and all that sort of stuff. And it worked really well. We did. I got 25 mil armies or 20 mil armies, Carthaginian versus Romans. And I said to him, what do you want to use, Romans or Carthaginian? And I thought because they're more famous, he was going to say Romans. But because he knows a bit about it, he said Carthaginians without any hesitation whatsoever. Oh, Carthaginians. And it was it took about an hour and a half. I had to talk him through the rules and options and stuff. But he
picked like when you're playing Andy then, really, yeah?
But he picks up really quickly. It's a good the 100 format is really good for learning the rules because it is the same game, you know what I mean? It's exactly the same game. So the whole factors and the maneuver and stuff is all exactly the same, but it is more manageable just with the one commander. So that was good. I can't figure out though whether I think, because I've only played it once and only against a child, I can't figure out whether, as well as a way of learning the rules, it would be an interesting game and intellectual exercise in its own right to play ADLG 100 points, because the way the game goes is there's one attack you don't get to recover almost, you know what I mean? It's sort of like stuff happens quite quickly. But designing an army to win that might actually work as a game in itself, if you see what I mean, sort of like winning at that scale. But I'm not absolutely so. Mark, if you guys want to try it a couple of times on ADLG, perhaps you could tell me, because I'm only really using it as a training aid at the moment. But I was impressed with him because there was one bit in the game that over on this flank, I was trying to get around with medium foot and it could have gone badly for him. He had all his cavalry on this flank doing me in, and we were about to clash in the middle. And we sort of talked through each term, and I sort of said to him, well, that could go badly, really badly for over there. That's obvious where you're sort of like doing well. And this is, I'm going to win if we get stuck in eventually. So he went, well, I'm going to do one thing over here to stop it going disastrous and pour everything else in this flank to make sure I win. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of the correct decision.
That's the correct decision, yeah. Resource allocation, it works.
Good.
So it was good.
How old's he?
Sorry, 11.
11?
Yeah.
So Alexander was on his first battle by then, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Leading the cavalry.
Yeah, but lovely as Adam's boy is, setting him up to say you need to be aiming for Alexander in your first game. That's a pretty high bar to set him, isn't it? Really, particularly as he's good at cricket as well. Which Alexander, there's no historical record of him being a good.
He never opened the batting, did he?
Never opened the batting. Not for his school, no, not at all. So your boy is ahead of him on that basis, isn't it? When they write the history, he'll be like, well,
swings
if only Alexander swings around about. Yeah, indeed. Okay, all right. Well, look, that's I think that's covered the gaming and the cricket. That's fantastic.
This means war.
Right. Well, look, we've done shopping, we've done painting, we've done some gaming. It's a miracle, and that can only mean one thing, and that thing is it is time for the Gallic Deep House Disco Techno of Andy's quiz. Mr. Finkel. Oh, Dave, you're raising a glass of some sort of crusty French lager there, I'm sure, something like that. So, Andy, hit us with, or remind us with, what last week's slightly bizarre and no doubt risque and double entendre laden topic was, and then hit us with some answers from it.
Right. Well, last week was He Said What? And I gave you quotes by famous people with blanks for some of the words, and you had to guess or tell me what the words were. So the first one was by
this is
Frederick
good
the Great.
Then. So we can actually have a go at this now, can't we?
Oh, absolutely.
In a carry-on sort of style. Good.
So Frederick the Great, a crown is just a hat which blank, 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 blank.
Somebody drop.
You
don't want to sit on?
Somebody drop.
Let's the rain in.
Let's the rain in.
That's correct.
Proper answer. Okay.
Yeah. Number 2, this is by Napoleon.
Don't think you've quite got the idea here, have you?
No. Yeah, Tamsin, look, give us at least, I can edit out the silences while we're trying to make something up that's vaguely funny as well. I can edit out the bad ones, and then you can come in with the real answer a bit later on. That'll be good.
Doing what's that show with Darrow O'Brien?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that one that's scripted, but we're trying to do it without being scripted and without being professional comedians and do it in real time. But let's go. Right. Fire away, Andy.
The second quote was by Napoleon. A boy can blank, blank, blank as well as a man.
Mess things up?
Shoot a gun?
Escape from Corsica, then return at the head of a large
Light
army.
his farts?
Cooked chicken Marengo?
Cooked chicken Marengo. Yes, how about that? Cooked chicken Marengo.
Possibly, but that wasn't what he said. It was a boy can stop a bullet as well as a man.
Nice.
Happy. Good.
Yeah. This was in the context of recruiting 16-year-olds for the army when he was running out of older people
for
after 1812.
Right. Okay.
When they all got starved to death at the bottom of Peter's Garden.
No, that's good. Right. Okay. Final question.
And the third one, Moltke the Elder. If you look at any military situation, you will see the enemy has 3 options. Of these, he will always choose the blank.
The one Andy chose?
Run away! Run away!
Always choose the 4th.
Correct.
D6. The D6? No, the 4th. Okay. So that's a Star Wars reference. Good. Okay. Right. Well, look, we've had those questions. Let's hit the music and then come back with this week's quiz. Andy, take it away.
I've got a bit of a dilemma because I've got 2 sets of questions and we can do one this week and one next week. So I'll give you a choice as to which topic you'd like. Would you like Storming Normans or Mad Science?
Mad Science.
Mad Science.
Yeah,
Mad
we're
Science,
looking at the team. We're going Mad Science.
Okay, right. First one. What was Archimedes' iron claw? Right, that's the question.
Okay.
The second. Which
know that one.
nation in World War One developed a steam-powered flame-throwing tank?
What? Just that's cool already, isn't it? That's just good.
I don't know,
They
but
just
I
give-
want one.
Yeah. Why didn't they just give the war to that side, whoever it was? Right.
Yeah, Tamsin's
I mean,
already started painting it.
And it's not
Yep.
Bretonians or Empire or any of that stuff. This is a proper. There is a proper
Was
answer.
it undercoated in gold? No.
Not from the pictures I've seen.
Right.
Right. Number 3. What unusual material was intended to be used in the construction of the aircraft carrier in Project Habakkuk in World War II?
Unusual aircraft carrier materials. Okay, that's pretty good on the obscure status, and I think a pretty good point to end this week's quiz.
Comment les entendre? Question. Comment les voir? Question. Le trou est sans fond? Question. La légende le dit? Question. Elle dit aussi? Question. C'est une maladie? Question.
Incroyable. I'll change the zoom filter so I no longer am wearing a Gallic moustache. That's part of the official end now of Andy's quiz. Simon, loving the bunny ears. That's just me and you normally, isn't it? We normally do that, not on the group chat. No, that's fine. So look, we've done everything this week, and we're cracking on for a fair amount of time. So just a quick run around. What's coming into post? What's happening next week? What's going? Andy, what about you? I think you mentioned you might have some optimistic shopping arriving.
Yes. Well, inspired by the ADLGR game I played with Simon, and also the fact he's got some Ottomans. I've got a medieval Ottoman army, so I thought I'll buy some museum handgunners, basically, Janissary and Azaps. And the museum have got a range called City Rabble. And I thought, how can you resist City Rabble when they're 25% off? So that sort of swayed me towards buying a load of museum miniatures for these Ottomans. And
buy one rabble, get one free sort of thing.
Not quite, but they're still keenly priced. And then a few other little bits and bobs. And so that's in the order and should be arriving probably next week.
Wow.
And I've actually I'm writing my projects on the door, on a piece of paper on the door of my War Games cupboard. So that's been added to the bottom, and I've actually managed to cross off one of my projects this week when I finished the Landsnechts. So, to me, putting a new project when you finish one sounds okay. So that's me.
I think that's almost illegal, isn't it? I thought you have to start at least 2 projects for every one that you finish. That's the way it works.
Well, there were other bits as well, but they're not really a full project. And I've now I've now managed this evening to undercoat the skeleton cavalry. So they're a nice shade of chocolate brown at the moment. So we'll see what they look like when I've dry brushed them bone and stuff by next week.
Okay, skeletons ahead. Simon, you're normally top of the shopping list, and I think normally you're getting side orders for me as well. Is there Pendragon stuff happening? Did we admit that earlier on?
We haven't admitted to it, but yes, they have me. I have done your order. They should be here in the next few days. So
excellent.
If we happen to be exercising somewhere in the same area and we happen to meet each other, that could be good.
Fingers crossed. That's good. Excellent.
Yeah. So, but from a shopping perspective, the only thing I've bought is a couple of paints. I've actually run out of silver for doing all the armor, which is quite scary.
That's all.
I tried and get metal, and I was very unhappy with the effect. So I found I've been just using silver with the army painter washes and all that, and that meets my level of competency. So I'm happy with that. And at 3 foot, when you're playing in the club back in the day,
in the Stygian darkness,
yeah,
that's true.
Cool. So yeah,
what paints did you get? Because it does remind me. I've part of digging out my Second World War 10 mil stuff and redoing some things. I've realised, or history has caught up with me, that a number of my coat d'arms, the little pots with the flip top lids, the lids have just the plastic on it has just died and almost shattered. And I'm thinking, is there a way of getting replacement lids? Because the pot is still fine, but but the lids are just kind of knackered. And because the paints don't seem to, instantly dry up underneath. I've got quite a few of those.
I think it'd be cheaper just to buy another pot of coat of arms.
Might be right, yeah. But I'm a war gamer, so I kind of go for these artificially pointless money-saving things. I'm just genetically programmed to do it.
Pendragon sell, and I know a few other places do it. The same, those little eyedropper bottles that paints come in. You can buy those, like 4 of them for a few
quid. Might be cheaper looking on Amazon for those.
Yeah,
we don't support Amazon. Legal America.
Looking at the size of coat of arms paint pots, maybe a cork.
Maybe a cork. There must be a little cork or something. But that's too low tech a solution. There's got to be somebody making them that I can order them from Guatemala and they'll arrive by eBay by post or something. Because I don't also want to put them into the dropper bottles because that sounds too hard.
Yeah, but the plus side of going
into another one.
No.
Yeah.
Another.
The plus side of going for the cork option is you get to drink a bottle of wine first to get the cork, so there's no waste.
That's true, actually. Yeah, that is possibly true. But then I'm going to spill it as I'm kind of trying to pour it in. But maybe I just need to paint the soldiers a lot quicker, like not leaving tins of paint for more than a decade or something.
Has anyone ever had a pot of paint that they've actually used and got to the bottom to? And gone, that's finished.
Yeah. With
I'm just about to get to the bottom of a dropper bottle of Vallejo, which I'm very excited about because I don't think I've ever got to that. Just scrape out the bottom bit of the paint with me brush type thing.
Yeah.
It's always dried up or the lid's died or.
Yeah, black and white I've done a few times, namely with, funnily enough, Austrian Army.
Although I've gone, there's a few Vallejo colours I've gone through. Black and white, definitely. I think
there's an empty
greys
black yellow Vallejo, and I've gone through at least 2 lots of English uniform Vallejo, muddle colour.
One thing that I am pleased about is I've got it's artist draws, Rauner Daily, or the sort of like decent brand of acrylics. It's not oil, sorry, acrylics. It's green, and I got it because it was a good grass colour, and I use it for all dry brushing, grassy stuff. And I got that before I painted my Numidians, which is decades ago, and I've still got about 3/4 of a tube, and it's still in perfectly good condition, so that's quite good because any other sort of like paint would have died, but I've still got this nice fat tube of perfect paint after about 30 years, which is
that's a frightening thing. I'm looking up at the paint thing now and thinking which are the really old paints. That's there are definitely some. I'm sure I've got some either Airfix or Humbrol enamels that I must have had when I was at school, because once
they died,
tin lid, no, but once the tin lid is really shut, it's really shut, and you've got no idea how they've done die because you're never going to open them ever again. So it's possibly impossible to open them. Maybe you need a welder or something.
Unless you decide to use them to make enamel washes for your tanks.
Enamel washes. Oh my god! Like we're in another rabbit hole. We've got to move on. Otherwise we'll be here till midnight. Right, who's next on the shopping and painting? Peter, have you got anything coming in the post this week?
I'm going to research and buy some winged hussars. I think. Just a few for a laugh, and I might just do it Essex. And then painting if the weather eases up, I might have a go at the little ships at the weekend and do a spray. Right. But if it's the weather's a mess, I won't.
Okay, so we could both have some little ships for a game that we've never actually played, and we're not going to be able to play for at least another 6 months. Say,
tabletop simulator of little ships. How about that?
Yeah, let's have a look. There's got to be somebody doing little ships on Tabletop Simulator. It's got to be possible. We've got to dig that out then. Okay.
I might try and have a game of tabletop at the weekend.
Okay, that could be a good thing. And then I think Tamsin, you said you've got some stuff coming.
And I might be placing a couple of small orders as well this week. For a few.
Another couple of small bits. And then Dave, I think running up with you're saying somebody's going to send you some stuff for you to paint for them. With a bit of luck, or
that should be coming tomorrow, and that should keep me occupied for quite a while. That'd be quite fun because it's a period of history I know nothing whatsoever about.
Yeah. And I suppose it's figures that you don't have to pay for as well.
Yeah, well, it's
nice.
going to be fun because it's doing 6 packs for Fog R, so I'll enjoy that because that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah,
it is quite possibly the best name for a battle there's ever been. Battle of the Boyne. Just like
I've actually cycled through the battlefield.
Did you get lost? I thought you used to be a courier in London.
I went mainly to go to Nath, Douth and Newgrange, the Neolithic burial sites in the Boyne Valley. That's another story. But
because I'm impressed with that, Dave. I think we're trying to talk about you doing the geekiest thing in the world of cycling through a battlefield, and you actually out-geeked it because you went there by accident when you were looking for Neolithic Neolithic burial grounds. That's good.
Islands in there. Stopped off in the Boyne Valley for the archaeology, which is truly amazing.
Amazing. Okay.
I am going to have to do an order for myself because the Legio Heroica Spanish army is so beautifully painted, even if I say so myself, that I'm going to have to redo my Almugavars. Well, I'm going to have to do at least 4 bases of Almugavars for it. And my old ones are looking too tatty, so I'm going to have to buy some new ones from them from Eureka.
No, just biostrip them. Then you can recycle old ones. It's a whole extra project. It stretches the workload out to much longer. I've done it with a lot of my tanks. It's great.
More expensive than buying the new figures.
Well, I'm not sure if you're talking Eureka, but
no. I want some. I was going to do a project of doing an African army. So I've got the camels and the warriors for the Egyptians, but I'm thinking of some sort of a Blemi type army, something like that.
Okay. Virginians are African.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good research project. Fantastic. All right.
Yeah, that's another point.
Good. Okay, then. Well, look, I think we've run. Oh, actually, Adam, are you going to manage to avoid shopping this week? Or actually, you've already got some. I posted you some stuff, haven't I?
Yeah, it's like I've got them. I might buy something this week, or it might be in the next few weeks' time. Because remember a week or two, I asked for advice about baggage camp for 28mm for something tribally that will do for any tribal stuff, and the recommendation was for different animals. And I thought, yeah, okay, and I had a look. But the thing is, I always think sort of like a baggage camp of a few sheep just look a bit half-hearted, to be honest, or some cows. But I was looking around and war bases do some vaguely convincing-looking ox-drawn wagons.
Yeah.
So I thought, yeah, that'll work. So at some point, I'll probably get one of them because that kind of works for anyone before, horses weren't used to draw carts until 16th century. So so I'll probably get one of them and paint it up to round out the baggage for my Dacian army. Okay,
that's good. Well, if war bases do they're one of the people that I think Tamsin suggested for your saga buildings as well. So that could be an absolute win, couldn't it? Good. Okay. I think I'm going to hopefully avoid buying anything. I'll probably collect some stuff from Simon though, and I'll be waiting for these 10mm sample figures from Apocalypse Miniatures on their Kickstarter to see what whether they look as good as the real the ones that they've got on that Kickstarter page, and I'll distribute those around. Maybe Dave will have a meeting at Hanger Lane Gyratory System on the day that I don't meet Simon somewhere else entirely, and get those and see what we've got by next week. So I think on that note, we're drawing to the end of yet another third podcast, unless there's a wavy Adam. There's a wavy last minute Adam, or are you just drying a brush there?
No, I was just waving goodbye.
Just waving goodbye. Okay, I thought you were drying a brush and I got confused. Right, okay then. Well, wave goodbye then, everybody. Wave goodbye. Bye. Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.
the most French, or is that the most French?
That one.
That one? That's one Frank Spencer, isn't it?
No, that looks a little bit raspberry.
It was like kind of French Navy. Might have a pom-pom on it for next week, but yeah.